Hello and welcome back, and today I want to talk to you guys about how to set up your Synology NAS for the very first time. A few disclaimers straight off the bat, although in today's video I will be utilising the brand new Synology DS220 Plus. Pretty much all the steps in today's video apply to pretty much any diskstation NAS from Synology. There's only a few exceptions in their RackStation series, and pretty much everything I'm going to go through in this video, and indeed all the videos that come after this, I think this is going to be like a 5 to 7 part series. All of them will apply to pretty much any NAS. If I have titled this video precisely this NAS, the DS220 Plus or the Synology 2020 series, I've only done that to make it nice and easy for people that are buying the latest range to get the very latest information on how to set these devices up. The second thing is, although I'm going to be setting up this NAS device, half of this video is going to be using screen recording on my laptop just over there. So although I am setting up this device here, half of this is going to be with me on camera and the other half is going to be on the desktop. We're going to be going through how to physically set it up the first time. We're going to install DSM and we're going to set up our RAID. If we get time, we'll sort out some shared folders, but then after that we're going to go through the rest of the videos, which are going to cover applications, creating accounts, security protocols, Plex Media Server and more. But I've used up enough of a good minute or so for this intro. Let's get started. In order for today's video, you're going to need your NAS unboxed. Here we go, this is the 220 there, but of course your NAS might be different. You're going to need the power supplier. If your NAS has got an external PSU, you want to make sure you've got that ready. If it's not, you'll be plugging directly into the rear of the NAS. Some diskstation NASs, like the bigger ones, the 1819, they've got the PSU inside. And you're going to need your storage media. In today's video, we're using Seagate Ironwolf 4TB NAS hard drives, but there are, of course, other hard drives out there, and depending on the complexity of the RAID device you use, it might be a 4-bay or a 6-bay or an 8-bay, you will need enough drives accordingly. But you don't need to fully populate any Synology NAS in order to use it. You can get away with one drive, and the only reason I'm using more than one is just to show you guys a RAID configuration setup later in this video. So the first things you need to do to get this device sorted out for the first time is installing your hard drives. And again, although many NAS, Synology NASs differ in terms of size and capability, generally hard drive installation is near enough identical. In the case of this 220 Plus, we remove the front panel to expose the trays. Maybe you've already got the trays handy. Slide out one of the hard drive trays and you'll find that they are click and loadable trays. You remove the sides of each tray like that. You then get your hard drive, make sure the SATA connector is faced out and the bare board, the PCB there, is on the inside of the tray. Slide that inside like that and then replace the clips there on the side. Now, if you are utilising some of the Synology proprietary RAIDs, then it won't matter what order you put the discs inside, so you don't have to keep track of it too much. But for now, slide that tray back in, it will click and you'll know it's in there. And then do the same thing again with each tray you use afterwards. So again, this is a 2-bay, and I'm using those Seagate Ironwolf 4TBs. Get your adapter there, your clip, pop the clip on the sides, put it in there, and that's it. We've installed our hard drives. Now, the next thing to do is make sure that this NAS is on the same area network that you're going to be running your setup on. NAS can be set up with a mobile phone using the DS Finder application for iOS and Android. It can also be set up on a desktop with any web browser, and that is a PC or Mac desktop. But in order to do it, setting up the device for the first time, you have to make sure that this is on the same network as the device you're going to be setting it up with. And what that means in caveman speak is make sure that the device you're using to set it up is on the same internet as this NAS. In my case, I have a router just out of shot here at the top here, and I've already got a cable ready. Hopefully there's a little thing on screen there. And what you need to do is get your LAN cable like so, connect it to the rear of your router, which should hopefully have been on screen, and then take this and connect it to the rear of your NAS. In my case, I'm going to be utilizing one of the 2 LAN ports here. Click it in, you'll hear it click, and then pop that down. The next thing you need to do is connect the power cable. Now, make sure you haven't powered the wall mains socket yet. If you're using an external PSU, make sure you've got the same connector there. In this case, it's a kettle connector. and connect the kettle to the rear of the PSU. Then take the PSU cable and connect that directly into the rear of the NAS, like so. Then make your way over to the power connector and power it on the wall. Most PSUs will feature a light to indicate that the PSU is functional. This light is only to indicate that the PSU is functioning normally and it has a live power connection with the mains wall. It doesn't mean that the device has powered up. Now you've connected your NAS device to the mains power and to your network. Replace the front panel if your NAS does have a front panel, but make sure the drives are fully inside, and then power the device on like so. You'll hear the drives spin up. The more complex your drives or the larger capacity, the more noise they may make at setup. Don't be alarmed if you hear lots of clicks and whirs, as more complex hard drives these days, such as the 16TB Seagate Iron Wolves, have a lot more going on inside and do create a little bit more vibration and a little bit more noise whilst in operation. Luckily, these 4TBs are pretty whisper quiet. These lights, as you can hear those drives starting to spin up there, will start to power on one by one. Now you just need to wait a few minutes for the device to fully power on. Once it's done so, the lights on the front here will indicate green that these drives have been recognised and the device will beep. While it's doing that, let's make our way over to the desktop to set this device up on a software level, and there's the beep. The next stage of our Synology setup requires us to find the NAS on the network. Now there are lots of ways to do this, and the more experienced in network attached storage or indeed any kind of networking will be able to find the device quite easily. But for the rest of you, I strongly recommend downloading a tool called Synology Assistant. If you head to Synology.com, you can go to their support and download section in order to find your NAS and the software you can install. In my case, the 220 is not available at the moment, but we can look up pretty much any NAS in order to get hold of the Synology Assistant software. As you can see, there's a firmware there if you'd like to download it manually, but we're not going to be utilising that today. What we want to use is the desktop utilities, and more precisely, the Synology Assistant. Now make sure you download the version that best fits your own storage needs. In my case, I'm running a Windows environment, so I would click here. It's really easy and straightforward to install. It's a very tiny application, and once you've downloaded it, you don't need to restart your computer. Once you've got the application installed, it looks like this. As you can see, I've already scanned my local area network and it's found 2 Synology NASes. That's because I run multiple NASes at once. But for you, this screen will probably be empty. So click Search. This will now search your local area network to find the NASes that are currently on that network. As mentioned earlier, these are the NASes that are, quote, sharing the same internet, but that's a real caveman way to put it. As you can see, the second one in the line here has got Synology NAS, it has the IP, and it mentions that its status is uninstalled. So, for now, we just need to double click there, and it will ask us to double check the user usage agreement. We click OK. And then from there, it will open a brand new tab in our web browser. And from here, we can install Diskstation Manager, or DSM, currently DSM 6.2 at the time of recording. From here, it will talk us through how to set up the device for the first time. You can find out information about your device there, but for now, click Setup. It will now download the latest version of DSM directly from that download center for you and install it directly onto the NAS. Make sure that the drives you've used are blank and don't have data on them already, otherwise the Synology NAS may not allow installation of DSM on drives that have got data on them already. For now, click Install, or you can click Manual Install if you want to install a different version of DSM. For now, I'm going to click Install. It will tell me that the data on the disk is going to be wiped, but once again, sometimes if the disks have not been fully formatted, installation may not complete, so make sure you've already done that. For now, I'm going to proceed. Next follows a countdown where it will go through to the completion of the installation of DSM, and it will reboot the device. This can take anywhere between 3 to 10 minutes based on your internet connection and the power of the NAS itself. This shouldn't take too long. Let's fast forward to the completion of the download and installation of DSM. Once the system has rebooted, you will be greeted with this screen on exactly the same IP that you were connected to earlier on. Now, what you need to do from this point is to name your Synology NAS as well as create the default administrator login. For the sake of ease, I'm going to call this NAS the DS220 Plus, and I'm going to be featuring it in a number of videos after today. After that, create an admin username and give that admin username a password. And again, you can call this whatever you want to do, just make sure you keep a note of it and it will assess the strength of the password you assign. This is going to be the administrator login, the login that you are going to utilize to pretty much create your Synology NAS foundation. After that, you can create multiple sub-accounts, but for now, let's move forward. Once we click next, it will go on to the next screen of this installation. And there you have it. Now it lets you know that you've created that administrative login, and from here you can proceed to set up your Synology NAS for the very first time. You may see an additional screen with regards to setting up network as well as internet level access between this and the previous screen, depending on the NAS and the region you're based in. For now, you can configure those options very easily from the control panel, but for now, you can confirm if you want to share your device's credentials with the local DSM, the Synology server, but for now I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and click go. It will then ask you if you want the updates to be done automatically or not, but for now it will ask about sharing that analytical data we just mentioned, and for now I'm just going to say no. And for here, this is the Synology DSM desktop. This is the graphical user interface that's accessible via the internet or the network in order to interact with your NAS, although there are lots of client apps that you can choose. There will be a little guide there just telling you the things that you can do to set this device up for the first time, as well as a light resource monitor here on the bottom right. Moving forward, you can set up the device to your tailored needs. From here, you can go ahead and install brand new applications as well as create storage areas. Now, some Synology NASs will create your storage area by default for the first time, but others will require you to do it manually. What you need to do is head to this button here at the top menu, at the main menu button, and head over to Storage Manager. From here, you can see those two hard drives that I installed earlier on. If we go to the storage pool, we can see that we have not created a storage pool on our system, although both hard drives have been initialized and recognized. A storage pool is when you create the RAID area with which all of your containers and storage are going to live. And although you can create multiple volumes, generally a storage pool will occupy the total area of whatever hard drives you select. So the first thing we need to do is create that storage pool. Click the storage pool tab and then click create. From here you can start building the right storage pool for you. You can go for a storage pool that utilizes ext4 as well as standard RAID configurations, or you can go for a higher flexibility that allows you to take advantage of Synology's fluid hybrid RAID system. For now, I'm going to go for higher flexibility. Then click Next. From here, you have to name your storage pool, but it's not exactly urgent. For now, I'm going to call this my SHR RAID volume. Now, you can select other RAID configurations based on the number of drives in your system. Synology Hybrid RAID is a fluid RAID system that allows you to have one disk of drive failure, but will ultimately halve your overall capacity available in the device to make sure you've got that safety net. It's near enough identical to RAID 1 with certain benefits with regards to fluidity and mixing and matching drives if you choose. Although it doesn't quite have the performance of RAID 1, it's still an excellent option and one that only Synology and Drobo have. Alternatively, Basic and JBOD will just be loose storage drives with no safety net, and RAID 0 will combine the overall drives in your system to give you a maximum storage area. But if you maximize with RAID 0 and pool all of the available drive storage together, you will have no safety net, and if one of your drives dies, then you lose all of the data. For me, I'm going to select Synology Hybrid RAID, then click Next. From here, it will then ask you which of the drives in your system you want to utilize. In my case, I'm going to use all the drives, but you can utilize just a single drive if you so choose. Then I click Next. It will let you know that the data on the disk will be erased, of which I'll click OK. From here, we'll ask you if you want to perform a disk check. This is if you want to check if there's bad sectors on the disk, and particularly if you're using second-hand drives or old drives, I recommend this step. But for the sake of ease and convenience in this video, I'm going to click no. But the majority of you, I would definitely recommend clicking yes, just to make sure that every single block on your hard drives are okay. From here, it will ask you to confirm the settings you've created, which I'm going to go ahead and do by clicking apply. It will then start the creation of my brand new storage pool. On this NAS utilizing SHR, the configuration will be very fast, and as you can see, it has already created our Synology Hybrid RAID storage pool. From here, we now have to create a volume. A volume is where all of your folders are going to live, all of your data and more. Now, if you're utilizing a system with multiple drives, you can create multiple volumes on a single storage pool. So perhaps you want to create different containers of storage for music, for photos, for media and more. This allows you to do it, although most users will create one big volume and then create subfolders within that structure. And that's the way I'm going to proceed in this video. So I'm going to click volume and then create. From here, it will ask what kind of volume we want to create. Because we're utilizing a Synology Hybrid RAID, we unfortunately can't use some of the more bespoke and industry-led volumes that can be created. And although you can reverse this decision quite easily, I recommend for now going ahead with the custom volume types. From here, it will ask you to select a storage pool, and if you haven't already created a storage pool or you've run out of storage space, this option will be available. Click Next, select the storage pool like the one I've just created, and then click Next again. It will then ask if you want to use BTRFS or ext4. ext4 is the older and more established file system and probably gives you a pinch more performance. But BTRFS features background snapshot creation, easy shared folder duplication, and file self-healing there in the background. It has lots of options for people that aren't too tech savvy and just want to make sure their data is being looked after. A lot of industry professionals will not utilize BTRFS just simply because it is quite a green or new file system. But in the case of this 2bay, I thoroughly recommend it. From here, we can give it this volume and title if we choose, but we don't have to if we don't want to. It will then ask how much of the capacity we want to use. Now, at the moment, this is going to utilize the maximum capacity available on the storage pool, but we can minimize this and create multiple storage volumes if we so choose. So just bear in mind that you could create two 1500 gigabyte storage volumes if you choose on a single storage pool. For now, I'm going to make sure I use the full capacity and then click Next. It's going to ask us to confirm the settings that we want, and then we click Apply once again. From here, it's now going to create the volume and all of the folders that are the default of our storage area. These are the folders that we're going to interact with both with the applications from the App Center as well as locally on our host systems. Remember, there are lots of different applications and tools from Synology for client platforms such as Windows, Android, and Mac and iOS, but we can utilize all of these things locally via the web browser too. And there you have it. We've created our volume and our storage pool. And from here, we can then have a look at File Station, which is our file browser that allows us to access the folders on our NAS. Now, it will ask if you'd like to create a shared folder. A shared folder is an area of storage on the NAS that can be accessed over the network. If you don't create a shared folder, then the local area network connected devices will not be able to interact with the data on your NAS. Although all the data will be on your NAS, if you need data to be accessible over the likes of DLNA for multimedia or for connected PCs or Macs in your local area network, I strongly recommend creating a shared folder. To do it, go ahead like this. Name the shared folder what you want to call it. In my case, I'm going to call it 220 share. You then can say if you want it to have a recycle bin. You can even encrypt it if you so choose, and say where on the NAS you'd like it. If you created multiple volumes, which we didn't, they will appear here. You can also remove it as a shared folder to be accessible over certain means, but for now we're going to leave all of these as default. You can also encrypt this folder, and that means that you can make sure that unless a person has the encryption key, they cannot interact with this data. Although there are ways and means to do this, this encryption of AES 256-bit encryption is near enough unbreakable. And it's worth bearing in mind that if you encrypt this volume or this shared folder within the volume, it may slightly lower your overall performance. Not much, but just a pinch. For now, I'm not going to enable that option. Clicking Next, it will ask you if you want to take advantage of some of the advantages built into BTRFS. So, for data integrity checks to happen in the background, as well as file self-healing, you can even enable a limit to the amount of storage that this shared folder can have in case folders get out of hand. All of these options are configurable to you and are far more customizable to your own storage environment. Me, I'm going to leave them blank for now. Clicking Next, it'll ask you to confirm these settings. We click Apply, and now we're going to create our new shared folder. The next thing we can do is see who can interact with this shared folder. As you can see, the admin has full access anyway, but I'm going to give them access to this shared folder. The guest account that arrives by default does not have access to this folder, and we can make sure that sub-users cannot access this folder. Clicking OK will then allow the creation of this new shared folder, which will appear here on the FileStation app. Now, say you want to access this folder on your local PC. On your local PC, if we go into the My PC option, we can't see the NAS here. What if we want to add that NAS to our local machine? It's quite straightforward. What we need to do is go back to the Synology Assistant application. Find the NAS that we've just created. In this case, it is the DS220 Plus. Right-click and select Map Network Drive. Then enter the login information for the NAS that you've just created and set up. It will then find the shared folder that you've just created. Make sure you click it. You may have multiple folders. If you've created multiple shares, make sure you select the right one. Then click Next. Assign a letter on your local machine to give this drive an identity. I'm going to give it the letter S. You can also say if you want it to be constantly connected every time you reboot your system, or that you manually have to go into it every time. Click Next. As you can see, all the information is now present. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the share starting to be completed. And there you have it. Our new shared folder is on our local PC. Our local PC is now able to interact with the NAS on a file level. There's the folder. And what if we want to deposit a file in there? What if we want to deposit a simple file on this NAS? So for now, let's go into my Documents folder, find an arbitrary picture like this one. We're going to copy it, paste it into the NAS folder there, as you can see. And now if we make our way into the NAS, go there, reopen FileStation, go in there, and there is our file that we've just uploaded, this divvy picture of me. There's lots of other things you can do with your Synology NAS, and remember to add individual users, whether this is a home environment or a business environment. In our next videos, we're going to talk about how to create user environments that have different login credentials and how to install individual applications on your Synology NAS. But this has been how to set up your Synology NAS in 2020 from beginning to end. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Click like if you did, click subscribe, stay tuned for the rest of the steps, and I'll see you next time.